What if I told you some of the most powerful people in history were part of a network you were never meant to fully understand? A network that doesn't advertise itself, yet has existed for centuries, hidden in plain sight. The Freemasons. To some, just a traditional brotherhood. To others, something far more mysterious, linked to power, influence, and secrets. But what's actually true? And what is just speculation? To find out, we have to go back to a time when knowledge meant power and secrets meant survival. The origin. The story of the Freemasons doesn't begin in a boardroom or a secret chamber. It begins in the Middle Ages, in a time of stone, dust, and massive cathedrals rising into the sky. Back then, stonemasons weren't just workers. They were highly skilled craftsmen, responsible for building some of the most complex structures in human history. Cathedrals, castles, monuments, these weren't just buildings. They were symbols of power, religion, and knowledge. And the techniques used to build them? Those were secrets. These masons formed tight-knit groups, almost like early unions. They traveled from place to place, carrying their knowledge with them. But they didn't share it with outsiders. Instead, they developed signs, passwords, and symbols to identify each other. If you knew the signs, you were one of them. If you didn't, you were kept out. Over time, something changed. As the demand for cathedral building slowed, these groups began to evolve. They started accepting members who weren't stonemasons at all. Scholars, philosophers, thinkers, people interested not in building structures, but in building ideas. And just like that, a craft became a brotherhood. But they didn't abandon their old ways. The symbols stayed. The rituals stayed. The secrecy stayed. And that's where the mystery really begins. The secret system. Freemasonry isn't something you fully understand by just reading about it, because a large part of it is designed to be experienced, not explained. Members don't simply join and receive a manual. They go through stages, degrees, each one revealing a little more than the last. Not everything at once, but piece by piece. And this system is built entirely around symbolism. The square and compass, the all-seeing eye, the aprons, the handshakes. To an outsider, they might look like random traditions, but inside the organization, each one carries meaning. Lessons about morality, discipline, and self-improvement. Freemasons don't walk around openly identifying each other. They don't wear uniforms in public. Instead, they rely on subtle recognition. A gesture, a phrase, a symbol placed in just the right way. And it's exactly this that keeps the mystery alive. Because when people hear about secret signs and hidden rituals, their imagination fills in the gaps. What happens behind closed doors? Why the need for secrecy? What are they really discussing when no one else is watching? The truth is, some of these rituals are known, documented, even published. But not everything is explained. And that thin line between what is known and what is hidden is where speculation grows. Power and influence. This is where things start to feel bigger, almost uncomfortable. Because the Freemasons aren't just some isolated group that existed in the background of history. Their presence shows up again and again in places where power, ideas, and decisions were shaping the world. Throughout history, their membership has included some of the most influential figures ever known. Presidents, politicians, scientists, military leaders, writers, people whose decisions didn't just affect one city, but entire nations. Names like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and other figures connected to the founding of powerful countries have all been linked to Freemasonry. And when you start seeing those connections repeat across different time periods, a pattern begins to form. And naturally, one question rises above everything else. Is it just coincidence, or is there something more behind it? Some believe Freemasonry is simply a network, a space where influential individuals meet, exchange ideas, and support each other. Not a hidden government controlling everything, but a quiet connection. A place where trust is already established, where conversations can happen more openly, and where influence moves subtly rather than publicly. Others, however, see it differently. They believe the influence runs deeper. That behind closed doors, decisions have been shaped, strategies discussed, and directions quietly influenced without the public ever knowing. Not through direct control, but through shared interests and aligned thinking. But here's the problem. Evidence is limited. Yes, there are records of membership, historical documents, personal letters and writings that confirm who was involved. But beyond that, things become unclear. There's no concrete proof of a hidden system controlling global events. No official document that says, this is how we operate behind the scenes. And yet, the idea refuses to disappear. Because when secrecy exists alongside power, people start asking questions. And when those questions don't have clear answers, they tend to grow, evolve, and take on a life of their own. Sometimes becoming theories, sometimes becoming beliefs, and sometimes staying unanswered. Myth versus reality. This is where everything becomes complicated. On one side, critics argue that Freemasonry is surrounded by exaggerated myths, that most of the conspiracy theories come from misunderstanding, fear, or the human tendency to fill in unknown spaces with dramatic explanations. On the other side, Freemasons themselves often describe their organization very differently. They talk about values, brotherhood, integrity, charity, personal growth, a system designed to make individuals better, not more powerful, not more influential, but more disciplined, more thoughtful, more aware. They claim the secrecy isn't about hiding power, but about preserving tradition, about creating a sense of progression, about making each lesson meaningful by revealing it step by step. And when you look at it from that perspective, it starts to make sense. But then the question comes back again. If it's all about values, why the secrecy? Why not open everything to the public? And the answer isn't completely clear. Because the truth seems to sit somewhere in the middle, not as secret as people imagine, but not as open as it appears. The modern-day Freemasons. Today, Freemasonry still exists, not hidden underground, not operating in the shadows in the way movies often portray, but also not fully visible either. There are lodges in cities all around the world, official websites, public events, charity work. In many ways it looks ordinary, but the structure remains the same. The rituals, the degrees, the traditions passed down for centuries, and membership is still selective. You can't just sign up like a social media account. You have to be invited, or at least express interest and go through a process. That alone keeps a certain level of distance between the organization and the outside world. And in an age where everything is transparent, documented, and instantly shared, something that isn't fully open stands out even more. It feels unusual, almost out of place. And that's exactly why people are still drawn to it, why the mystery never dies. Here's the reality. Humans are naturally curious, especially when something feels hidden. The less information we have, the more our imagination fills in the gaps. Freemasonry exists right in that space. Not completely secret, not completely open. Just enough mystery to keep people asking questions. Just enough history to make it feel important. And just enough connection to powerful figures to make people wonder if there's more beneath the surface. Maybe it's just a brotherhood built on tradition and personal development. Maybe it's something deeper, something we don't fully understand yet. Or maybe it's a mix of both. And that's what makes it so fascinating. Because after centuries of existence, with all the books, theories, and discussions, we still don't have one clear answer. What do you think about the Freemasons? A secret society with hidden influence, or simply a misunderstood community built on tradition and values? Write your opinion in the comments, and if you enjoy exploring mysteries like this, make sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories.